Hi and welcome back. There are times when you would like to highlight certain values in cells based on certain condition or criteria. For example, you may want to quickly find out who are your top 20 performers in your organization. Or on a personal front, you may want to know what were your top 5 major expenses in the previous month. All this can be handled using conditional formatting. Not only can you highlight the cells by coloring the background of the cell, you can also change the font color. This all helps you in identifying the key points in your data. So in this video, we will learn how to conditionally format our cells. We learn how to create rules, edit rules, delete rules, and so many other things. So let's begin. Before we begin, let me talk about the visual interface of conditional formatting. You can access conditional formatting under the Styles group under Home tab. If you click on it, Excel presents you with these options. We have Highlight Cells rules where we can highlight cells based on certain conditions. For example, if a certain value is greater than an X value or if certain cell contains some text and so on. We can also set top-bottom rules where you want to, let's say, easily identify the top or bottom 10%, 20% or 25% performers in your organization. We also have data bars, color scales, icon sets at our disposal to conditionally format our worksheets. And we will control all of this from VBA. Let's launch the Visual Basic Editor by pressing the shortcut key Alt F11. If you're not sure what a Visual Basic Editor is, then I recommend watching the video Visual Basic Editor and Introduction. There are 9 methods at your disposal when you're working with format conditions. And they are FormatConditions.Add method. It adds a new conditional format. FormatConditions.AddAboveAverage method. This returns a new above average object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. FormatConditions.AddColorScale method, which returns a new color scale object, representing a conditional formatting rule that uses gradations in cell colors to indicate relative differences in the values of cells included in a selected range. FormatConditions.AddDataBar method. This returns a databar object representing a databar conditional formatting rule for the specified range. FormatConditions.AddIconSetCondition method. This returns a new IconSetCondition object that represents an icon set conditional formatting rule for the specified range. FormatConditions.AddTop10 method. This returns a top 10 object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. FormatConditions.AddUniqueValues method. This returns a new unique values object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. We can use the unique values object to quickly visualize cells that contain either unique or duplicate values. FormatConditions.Delete method. This deletes the object. FormatConditions.Item method. This returns a single object from a collection. We will understand all these methods one by one. Here I have 11 modules, out of which 9 modules are dedicated to these methods. And we have 2 extra modules to discuss multiple conditional formatting. We will go through them one by one. The first method that we will cover is FormatConditions.Add. Let's open the first module. You can either double click on it or you can right click on it and click on View Code. Here I have a procedure called Add Example. Before we go ahead and understand what this procedure does, let's first understand the syntax of adding the type of conditional format, the rules that we want, etc. using VBA. We will begin with the syntax. The syntax is expression.add type operator formula1 formula2. Here expression represents a format conditions object. The type specifies whether conditional format is based on a cell value or an expression. You can choose from any of the Excel format condition type as shown when specifying the type. We have Excel above average condition, we have Excel blanks condition, Excel cell value, Excel color scale, and so on. So you can choose from any one of these. When we start using this, then you will understand this. The operator is a conditional format operator. It can be one of the following Excel format condition operator constants: Excel between, Excel equal, Excel greater, and so on. If the type is Excel expression, the operator argument is ignored. Formula 1 can be a value or expression associated with the conditional format. Can be a constant value, a string value, or a cell reference or a formula. Formula 2 is the value or expression associated with the second part of the conditional format when operator is Excel between or Excel not between. Otherwise, this argument is ignored. Can be a constant value, a string value, a cell reference, or a formula. Now let's go back to the code and understand what is happening here. Here I have declared variables for my worksheet: last row and range. Here I am initializing the worksheet object to sheet 2. Let's go to sheet 2 for a moment. This is sheet 2, monthly expenses. So let's say that this is my monthly expenses. Obviously, this may be different for each one of you depending on which country you are from. Let's try and find out which of these expenses are above, say, 200. So we'll go back to the code and understand how to achieve this. Here I am finding the last row in column A, and here I am identifying the range where the formatting will be applied. Here I am adding the conditional format using FormatConditions.Add method. Here the Excel format condition type that I am using is Excel cell value. Here I am using the Excel greater operator, and in Formula 1 I am specifying the value. It is 200 because I want to highlight the values greater than 200. Since we have only specified one format condition till now, we are using 1 here. When we will work with multiple conditions, and if you want to interact with those conditions, then we will change the value here. And finally, here I am setting the color to red. Let's run this code and see if we get the desired result. To run the code, click on the Run Sub User Form button or simply press the shortcut key F5. When we go to the worksheet, you will notice that any value which is above 200 is colored as red. The beauty of conditional formatting is that once it is set, if you change the values, the color will change automatically based on your condition. For example, if I change this 500 to 199 and if I press enter, see how the color goes away. And if I change it back to 500, the color will come back. Just like we used greater than, we can use any of the other conditions which are mentioned here. You can use less than, between, equal to, text that contains, and so on. So if you go back to the code, you will notice that I have 2 extra commented code. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to comment this and I'm going to uncomment this. What this does is, any value which is between 100 and 200 will get the color red. But before we do that, what we will do is we'll remove the conditional formatting from this entire worksheet. I will explain about this in a short moment. Let's go back to the code. Now if I run this, you will notice any value which is between 100 and 200 gets the red color. Similarly, we have a third condition where I am searching for a string called insurance and I'm using a text operator Excel contains. Obviously now the range will change from C3 to B3 to B last row, which is this range. So what I want to do right now is I want to color a cell which has the word insurance in it. So let's go back and let's run this. See, these 2 cells have the word insurance and hence these 2 got highlighted. Let's go back. So this was FormatConditions.Add method. Moving on to the next method, which is FormatConditions.Delete method. This method deletes the FormatConditions object. When working with single conditional format, it is advisable to always delete any existing format first before you add a new one. This way, there is no overlapping of formats. In this example, what we were doing is we manually cleared the formats. From now on, we will delete the formats in the code itself. The syntax to delete format conditions object is very simple. It is expression.delete. To understand this, let's go to module 2. This code is the same as the code in the previous module. The only thing that we are doing here is we are deleting any existing format before adding a new one. This statement deletes any existing format in the range. If you want to delete all the conditional formatting in the worksheet, then you can use cells.FormatConditions.Delete. If we run this code now, we will not notice the difference. We will notice it when we are trying to add a new format, which is in module 3. Then you will witness how this works. The third method that we will cover is FormatConditions.AddUniqueValues method. This method returns a new unique values object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. You can use this method to quickly visualize cells that contain either unique or duplicate values. So if we go back, and if we want to highlight all duplicate values in this range, then I will have to use the AddUniqueValues method. Let's see how we can do this. Let's go to the third module. This part is the same as the code in module 1. Here I have .FormatConditions.Delete. Currently, we already have a format applied here. So we will not manually clear this now, we will do it via code. This line will delete that format before applying the new format mentioned below. I am using the unique values object to quickly visualize cells that contain either unique or duplicate values. And in this line, I am telling VBA that I need to highlight duplicate values. If you want to highlight unique values, then you need to change this Excel duplicate to Excel unique. We will test that in a moment. In the previous example, I only colored the cell's background. Here, I will change the font color as well. So let's run this. If you go back to the worksheet, now you will notice that the old format is not there and all the cells which contain duplicate values have been colored in a specific color with the font color changed as well. So if I go ahead and if I change this value to, let's say, 36, so obviously this 36 is the same as this value. See what happens. Both of them get colored. If I press Ctrl Z and change it back to 50, then the color is removed from both the cells. Now let's test if we can highlight unique values. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change Excel duplicate to Excel unique. So instead of overwriting this, I will type Excel unique and I'll comment this part. So if I run this now and if I go back to the worksheet, you will notice all the values which are not duplicate, which are unique, get colored this time. So this was the third method, FormatConditions.AddUniqueValues. The next method that we will cover is AddAboveAverage. The FormatConditions.AddAboveAverage method returns a new above average object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. Let's understand this using a code. Let's go back and view the code in the fourth module. This part remains the same, there is no change. Here we have specified the format condition as .AddAboveAverage, and here I am using the AboveAverage.AboveBelow property, which returns or sets one of the constants of the Excel above-below enumeration, specifying if the conditional formatting rule looks for cells values above or below the range, average or standard deviation. The Excel above-below enumeration has these constants: Excel above average, Excel above standard deviation, Excel below average one, and so on. Here I am using Excel above average because I will highlight any value in my entire expenses which is above the average. These two remain unchanged. I am going to use the same colors to color the cell background and font full color. Now let's run this. Let's go back to the worksheet. Here you will notice any value which is above the average gets highlighted. So if I select this entire range, Here in this corner, you will notice that the average is 321.06. So any value which is above this value 321 will get highlighted. Just like we used Excel-VBA, you can use any of these constants to get the desired result. Moving on to the next method, which is FormatConditions.AddColorScale. So let's go to module 5. The FormatConditions.AddColorScale method returns a new color scale object representing a conditional formatting rule that uses gradations in cell colors to indicate relative differences in the value of cells included in a selected range. Before I apply the formatting, first let's understand the visual interface of AddColorScale method. Let's go to the worksheet and let's click on Home Conditional Formatting. Here under Color Scales, let's click on More Rules. The AddColorScale method has a parameter called Color Scale Type, which should be set to 2 or 3 depending on whether you want 2 or 3 colors on your scale. So if you click on this drop down, you can see that there are 2 color scales here. If you select 2, you can specify a lowest value and a highest value. You can also set the colors that you want for the color scale. Similarly, if you select 3 color scale, you can also specify a midpoint. You can choose what kind of midpoint is it. So if you click on this drop down, you can see that you can set it as number, percent, formula and percentile. Same is with minimum. You can set what type you want. And same is with maximum. For the midpoint, you can also decide what value it can be. In the drop down, you will also see data bar and icon sets. We will cover these later in the video. Now let's go back and achieve this using VBA. By now you must have gotten familiar with this code. Most of it is the same except this line where I have defined an object variable for my color scale. Here I am initializing my color scale to 3 colors. Here I am using the color scale criteria property to specify color and settings for each of the scale. So color scale 1 is for the first color on the scale, which I am using for lowest value. Color scale criteria 2 is for the second, which I am using for a midpoint as percentage. I have set it to 20%. When you're experimenting, feel free to change it to whatever you want. You can also use a number as well. Color scale criteria 3 is for the third color on the scale, which I'm using for highest value. If you're unsure how to get these RGB values, then let me quickly show you a trick. Let's go to the worksheet, click on the Home tab and click on this drop down, which is Fill Color, and then click on More Colors. Go to Custom. Here, choose whatever color you want. And then simply click on the color here. You will notice that the RGB values get populated. Once you select a particular color, simply move this up and down and then choose 3 different colors in that particular shade and then pick up the RGB values from here. Let's go back. Let's run this code now. When you go to the worksheet, you will notice that the color gradient has been applied. Let's go back to the code once again. Feel free to experiment with the type. Right now I have Excel condition lowest value, Excel condition value percent, Excel condition value highest value. So change this type and see what results you get. Always remember, if you get stuck, then simply post a comment in the comment section below, or you can also email me on support@tamexcel.com. Okay, moving on. The next method that we will cover is FormatConditions.AddDataBar. Let's go to module 6. FormatConditions.AddDataBar method returns a databar object representing a databar conditional formatting rule for the specified range. So when can we use databars? They are useful in spotting higher and lower numbers, especially with large amounts of data, such as top and bottom performers in your organization. Databars help you see the value of a cell relative to other cells. The length of the data bar represents the value in the cell. A longer bar represents a higher value and a shorter bar represents a lower value. Before I apply the formatting, first let's understand the visual interface of AddDataBar method as well. So let's go back to the worksheet. Let's click on Home, Conditional Formatting, and this is Data Bars. But before we understand this, let's go to Sheet 1 first, because we will be applying the conditional formatting on this sheet. Here I have sales performance for 20 employees. We will use data bars on this data to quickly spot the top and bottom performers. Okay, let's go back to conditional formatting, data bars, and let's click on More Rules. Here you can set the type as maximum or choose any values. Here you have the option to choose different types. So if you click on this drop down, you can select lowest value, number, percent, formula, percentile, automatic, etc. Similarly, you can also set the same for maximum. For this demonstration, I'm leaving it as automatic. In this section, you can specify values if needed. This section lets me decide how my bar looks like, and this section handles the border of the bar. This section is for negative values and axis. Let's click on it. Here you can choose what color should be used for negative values. Currently it is red. I'm going to leave it as it is. If you click on this option, then you can use the same color that you used for positive values. This is for the axis. The default is automatic. This means the axis will shift automatically depending on the negative values. If you choose midpoint, then the axis will be fixed at the center. And if you choose the third option, then you will not see an axis, and the negative and the positive values will point towards the same direction. I will be demonstrating this shortly. Let's go back. In the bar section, you can decide which direction the bar should be. By default, it is context. You can choose either right to left or left to right. Okay, let's go back to the code. Most of the code is similar to what we have, except a couple of things. Here I have defined an object variable for my data bar. Here I have initialized now the worksheet to sheet 1. The range remains the same because we are going to work with the C column. So let's go back. Here I am initializing my data bar. Here I am setting the bar color, and here I am setting the bar border color. This time I am using a green color. Feel free to change it to whatever you want. I've already shown you the trick to get the RGB color values. So I'm going to run this now. And when you go back to the worksheet, you will notice that the bars have appeared in column C. You can also apply the same formatting for the figures of July. Simply change the range from C to G, and then you will notice the bars here as well. Now if you notice that I have a performance comparison between June and July. Here I have shown the performance of the employee. So this is nothing but July sales minus June sales. So Michelle has done 1500 less. Arthur has done 2315 more. So now we will apply the conditional formatting here. Now what I want to show is a red bar for negative values and a green bar for positive values. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to comment the code that I have there. Also, I'm going to change the range from C to K because we are going to now work with the K column. Here I have set the axis position as automatic. If you remember, it is here we can choose if we want it to be automatic or in the center or no axis at all. If we choose not to have any axis, then both the negative and positive values will point in the same direction. Here I have set the color as red for the axis. And here I am setting the back and border color of the negative data bars. Let's run this to see how this will look like. When you go back to the worksheet, you will notice that conditional formatting has been applied in column K. You can notice that the axis is not in the center, it is slightly towards the left, and wherever there is a negative value, there is a red bar. Wherever there is a positive value, there is a green bar. When the values change, the axis will also move. So for example, if I change this to, let's say, 30,000, see how it changed from positive to negative and how the axis shifted from the left to the right. I'm going to press Ctrl Z. Like I mentioned, if you want to keep this axis in the center, then simply change the dot axis position property. You know what? Let's do that and see how it looks like. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to type equal to, and then I'm going to select axis midpoint. Now let's run this. So if you go back, you will notice that the axis is right in the center. So even if you change the value here, the axis will not move. It will remain in the center. And if you want both the positive and negative values to show in the same direction, then either you can set the dot axis position to Excel-DataBar axis none, or simply comment these two lines. So first what I'll do is I'll change the axis position to none, equal to none. Obviously when it is none, we don't need the axis color, so I'm going to comment that and I'm going to run this. So if you go back to the worksheet, you will notice that both the negative and positive bars are pointing towards the right. You can also comment this line. It will have the same effect. So these are data bars. Moving on to the next format condition method, which is FormatConditions.AddIconSetCondition. The FormatConditions.AddIconSetCondition method returns a new IconSetCondition object that represents an IconSet conditional formatting rule for the specified range. You can use the use in IconSet to annotate and classify data into 3 to 5 categories separated by a threshold value. To understand this, let's first check out the visual interface of adding an IconSet. So I'm going to go back to Home, Conditional Formatting, and this is the IconSet. So if you notice, there are 3, 4, and 5 categories that you can choose from. Each icon represents a range of values. For example, in the 3 traffic signal IconSet, the green signal represents higher values, the yellow signal represents middle values, and the red signal represents lower values. Without applying the formatting, if you want to see how it looks like, simply select the range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this range and I'm going to move this slightly towards the left. And now I'm going to click on Conditional Formatting, IconSets, and the moment you select these icons, you will notice how it looks like. Obviously, there's already a conditional formatting of data bars there. So let me first clear all the rules from the entire worksheet. Now, if I click on conditional formatting IconSets, it will be much more clear. See how it works. And so on. Now let's click on More Rules. Here you can choose the icon style. Whether you want the flags, you want the traffic signal, do you want the stars, arrows, completely your choice. Depending on what you select, you will get different options. So right now you have selected, let's say, traffic signal. So you will get 2 options here. You can select when value is greater than equal to 67. What is the type? Is it a percent? Is it a number? Is it a formula? Whatever it is. Depending on that, you can set your levels. If you select 5 categories, see, you get 4 options. So you can create your different slabs, and based on those slabs, then the data in your range will have relevant icons. Let's go back to the code. It may be difficult to understand in the first go what exactly is happening here. But when I take you through the code, it will become much more simpler. You'll understand what exactly is going on here and how to set these values. So let's go and open the 7th module. Again, most of the code in the top section is the same. Here I have defined an object variable for my icon set condition. Here I am initializing my icon set condition, and here I am choosing the Excel-3 traffic lights 1. You can choose any of the icon set from this list. For demonstration purpose, I'm using the traffic lights icon 1. Here I have set the type as Excel condition value number. You can choose any of these Excel condition value types. Here I am specifying the rule for amber traffic light for values greater than 2000. Here I am specifying the rule for green traffic light for values greater than 7000. So in my data, if the value is greater than 7000, it will be green. If it is between 2000 and 7000, then it will be amber. And for all values below 2000, it will be red. So let's run this. If you go back to the worksheet, you will notice that now we have our traffic lights. Let me just move this sheet so that you can compare it with June and July figures. Any value which is above 7000 is green, anything between 2000 and 7000 is amber, and anything less than 2000 is red. Here as well, if the values change, the traffic lights will also change. For example, this is green, so I'm going to make this 20,000. So notice how this will turn into a negative and to a red. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z. Feel free to similarly experiment with other categories. For example, if I go back and change the traffic lights to arrows, then I can do that. All I have to do is change this icon set to Excel 3 arrows. And if I run this code now, you will notice that instead of traffic lights, we have arrows. I would recommend experimenting with different icon sets, categories, type, etc. so that you get a good understanding how these work. So if you want to see how these conditions have been set visually, then click on Home, Conditional Formatting, Manage Rules, and here if you click on Edit Rule, you can see that when the value is greater than 7000, it will be green. When the value is less than equal to 7000, it is 2000, and when it is less than equal to 2000, it is red, and the type has been set as number. So whatever we wrote in the code is reflected here. Moving on to the next method, which is FormatConditions.Add top 10. The FormatConditions.Add top 10 method returns a top 10 object representing a conditional formatting rule for the specified range. Using the top 10 object, you can find the highest and lowest values in a range of cells based on the condition that you specify. For example, you can find the top 5 performers in your organization or the bottom 20% of your expenses and so on. To understand this better, let's click on conditional formatting again. Here you have top bottom rules, and here as the menu shows, if you want to work with top or bottom 10, then you can choose this. But if you want to set your own cutoff value, then you can do that by clicking on more rules. So I'm going to click on more rules. Here you can choose if you want top or bottom values, and here you can choose the cutoff values. And this is in case if you want the cutoff in terms of percentage. And here you can set the format of the cells. You can color the cell or the font size, etc, etc. So if you click on this, you can change the font, you can apply borders, you can apply a back color and so on. Let's go to module 8. We have a code ready. Let's understand how we can use this method. Here I have defined an object variable for my add top 10. Here I am initializing my add top 10. Finally, here I am choosing the Excel 10 top. In case you want bottom values, then change this to Excel top 10 bottom. We will test this in a moment. Here I have set the cutoff to 25. So I want to see top 25, and this adds an extra condition to my rule that it has to be 25%. Here I am saying that if the value is in top 25, then color it green. So let's run this to check what happens when this conditional format is applied. So we can see that add top 10 conditional formatting is now active. Similarly, if we want, we can highlight the bottom 25%. So let's go back, and I'm going to change Excel top 10 top to Excel top 10 bottom. And let's run this. If I go back, this time I have 5 different values which fall under bottom 25%. So this was FormatConditions.Add top 10. Again, feel free to experiment with this, and if you have any questions, again, go ahead and post it in the comment section below. Before we understand the final method, which is FormatConditions.Item, let's cover something else first. Till now, we were applying only one format everywhere. There are times when you may want to set up several conditional rules within your data range so that all values in a range are covered by different conditions that you set. To understand this better, let's go to Module 9. I'm working with the same worksheet, same range. I'm deleting the existing formatting here. Here, I'm adding 4 conditions one by one. In this condition, I'm telling VBA that this is the first rule. If the value is greater than 6000, then color the cell green. In the second rule, I'm specifying that if the value is between 2000 and 6000, then color the cell amber. In the third rule, I'm specifying if the value is between 0 and 2000, then color the cell with a shade of pink. And if it is less than 0, then color the cell red. So let's run this. Now let's go to the worksheet, and you will notice that our cells have been colored as per their values, as per the rules that we set for them. Now let's go back to the code once again. There are a couple more important things that I want to explain when you are working with multiple conditional formatting. Here we had our slabs defined very clearly using greater and between. What if I want to use something like, if the value is greater than 2000, then color the cell red. If the value is greater than 6000, then color the cell amber. And if the cell is greater than 8000, then color the cell green. In such a case, the order plays a very important role. What I'm going to do is I'm going to uncomment the code which is right below this code. So I've changed my conditions in this section. So what I'm saying is if the value is greater than 2000, then color it red. If it is greater than 6000, then color it amber. And if it is greater than 8000, then color it green. Now if I run this, see what happens. Let's go to the worksheet. You will notice that only the red is applied for all conditions. And that is because the topmost rule will always take precedence over the lower ones. So if we go back, this rule will take precedence over the other two. So you'll have to ensure that the order is correct. Let's fix it. I'm going to rearrange this code a little bit. I'm going to move this above. I'm going to change it to 1. Then I'm going to move this above. And this I will make it 3. Now let's run this. If you go back to the code, you will notice that all colors have been applied. So remember, while working with multiple rules, always set the order correctly to get the right results. The next important thing that you should always remember when working with multiple conditions is FormatCondition.StopIfTrue property. The StopIfTrue, if set to true, stops processing the current rule when the condition meets, and it ignores the other rules. Again, to understand it better, let's view the code in Module 10. This is the same code that we have in Module 7. Exactly the same code. So let's go back. I'm going to use this code to demonstrate StopIfTrue. Now when you run this, and if you go back, you'll notice that the conditional formatting is applied and the cells have the traffic signals. Now what if you want to only see the green traffic signal and not the other ones? In short, I want to see the key data points and I want to cut the noise, if I may say so. For this, we will add a condition to ignore values less than 7000. So I'm going to go back and uncomment the code that I have here. And now if I run this, If you go back, you'll notice I only see the green traffic signal. Here, if you notice, we have not used .StopIfTrue is equal to true. So how did this happen? This is because to support backward compatibility, the default value for this property is true. Now, if I type rng.FormatConditions1.StopIfTrue is equal to false. Now let's run this. If you go back, you will notice that you've got the other two traffic signals as well. So if I go back now and if I change this to true, and if I run this, the other two signals will disappear. So like I said, the default value for the property is true. Even if you don't specify it, it's okay. So you have to be very careful when you're using the FormatCondition.StopIfTrue property. Because if you use it incorrectly, then the formatting will not be applied to certain sections of your data set. Now we are ready to understand the ninth method of format condition, which is FormatConditions.Item method. This method returns a single object from the collection. The syntax is expression.item index, where expression represents a format conditions object and index is the name or index number for the object. To understand this, let's go to the module 11. This is the same code that we have in multiple formatting example A of module 9. This is the code. I'm using the same code with a slight change. So to refresh our memory, if I run this, this is how the conditional formatting looks like. Now, what if I want to show black borders around the cells which have amber color? To do this, we can use the FormatConditions.Item method to work with that specific object. So let's go back and then I will uncomment the code which I have here. Here I'm telling VBA to work with the second item, which is this. And here I'm telling VBA to create a black border around the relevant cell. Here I'm also defining the kind of border that I want. So now let's run this. If you go back, you will notice that I have got black borders around the amber cells. Working with conditional formatting is really fun if you understand the different methods and properties it exposes or provides at your disposal. Time for a quick recap. In this video, we learned about conditional formatting and how to highlight cells based on a certain criteria or a condition. We saw how to change the cell background color or even the font color. We also discovered that we have 9 methods at our disposal to take full advantage of conditional formatting. I hope this video was easy to understand, but if you still have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can also email me on support@pamexcel.com. I also have a Facebook page. Please feel free to join that. The link is in the description below. If you have any question, please post it there and I'll be more than happy to answer your queries. A quick reminder, I'll be posting 2 videos every week, one on Monday and the other on Thursday. If you like the kind of content that I'm putting up in the channel, then go ahead and watch a couple of videos, drop a couple of likes, and if you're really serious about learning Visual Basic Programming from scratch, then go ahead and watch the playlist, because that is where I have kept the videos in a specific sequence. So go ahead, watch them, and if you're still not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe to this channel by clicking on the bell icon. And I'll see you in the next video when I talk to you about Excel tables, how to interact with them, how to create them, how to resize them, and so many other things.